Hi, Mr. Aydlett. Thank you so much for your time this morning. So I understand, reading the material you guys have put out the past couple of days, that things basically are still too early. There are no clear predictions here. But what are your druthers telling you? What's swirling over there at National Weather Service Guam office?
Yeah, definitely. We've been watching this trend in the forecast models for at least the better part of a week. And a lot of people have been buzzing in the community, not just in Guam and the CNMI, but across Micronesia, because you see these weather images coming from a variety of weather apps. And so this information is all publicly available, but you also have to know how to interpret it, what it's showing you. And so we've been seeing these trends in the forecast models for a week now, showing some degree of a tropical cyclone passing near or very close to Guam sometime next week. And so we are following those trends, and everything's starting to come together to some degree around that tropical disturbance invest area 95W. So the Joint Typhoon Warning Center did open up that invest area about 24 to 36 hours ago. That's still a very disorganized tropical disturbance. The forecast models have been indicating exactly that for a while, with some development likely to happen later today. We do want to see that consistency in the trends and the satellite and surface observations. If we see that development, that consolidation of a below-level circulation center today, we know that the models are getting a fairly decent grasp of this, and things will start taking shape over the coming days. If that development is delayed, then we know that the forecasts are still a little bit too aggressive in the developing 95W. So from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, as of their statement overnight, this remains a highly disorganized wave. As of yesterday, there is no discernible low-level circulation center. The environmental conditions are favorable and to become more favorable as it moves further toward the west into Pohnpei and Truk states. Numerical global models agree in eventual development, and the forecast is to continue moving west-northwestward and consolidating as it approaches the Marianas region. At this time, JTWC is maintaining that low rating for development, which means that development could occur, but significant development to a tropical depression is highly unlikely over the next 24 hours. And so we're seeing that in the satellite trends, that this is still a disorganized system. We'll have to watch it over the next 24 hours to see what happens. A little bit of the knowns and unknowns. Go ahead, Troy.
Sorry, is the intensification more possible if it starts moving a little more west and the conditions there are more favorable for development? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, it's got a little bit of an atmospheric wind shear. And so that vertical wind shear, tropical cyclones don't like wind shear because it keeps a very disorganized system stacked vertically. You want that low level circulation center poised vertically with the mid and upper levels. And right now we don't have that. So that convection, these showers and thunderstorms around that 95W, they're kind of scattered all over Eastern Micronesia. And so it's very disorganized, and that's typical for these formative systems. The question is, when will it start to consolidate? If it will consolidate. A lot of the models are all indicating that consolidation will occur, but when and then how fast. And so some of the knowns and unknowns, we do know that there is a disturbance in the FSM. That's check one. Forecast models indicate eventual gradual development. We've been seeing that consistency in the forecast models and across multiple members of that gradual development. But again, when? The forecast models indicate a track toward the Mariana Islands that's been holding steady for the last several days, and the time frame for arrival for a passage through the region still looks like it's going to be around late Tuesday into late Wednesday next week.
When you say to the region, you're talking about somewhere between Yap all the way through the Northern Mariana Islands.
Yeah, earlier trends, we were looking at a passage somewhere between just north of Yap to all the way up into the Northern Mariana Islands, up near Pagan or Maug, or even to the northwest or northeast of those locations. Right now, that plume of possible motion looks like it's shrinking down just a little bit as time marches onward to somewhere south of Guam to maybe as far as Pagan. So we're going to see that cone of possibility gradually lessen as this thing tracks farther west-northwest and time marches on and there's more consistency. The unknowns, this is the tricky part, and this is what we're all on the fence about. When will 95W consolidate? When will it start to become more organized? When will it get that defined low-level circulation center? A lot of our forecasts, our reasoning, our thoughts are hinged closely on when this will take place. Will it take place, as the American model suggests, later today and then start to intensify, or will it be slower and more sluggish like the European model suggests? When will 95 begin to intensify? How fast will it intensify? And when, where, and how hard will 95 track through the Mariana Islands? How close to Guam and CMI? So there's a lot of unknowns, but the best thing we can urge people right now to do is stay up to date with weather information from the National Weather Service here on Guam. We'll be putting out information later today and through the night into tomorrow and into next week.
Is this more of a when than an if? It's consolidation and intensification.
It's right now it's heavily on the when, but we can't rule out the if, because until this thing starts to take some shape, the if part remains a possibility. And so I was talking to a number of people across the island early this morning, and there are some occasions that we can have a tropical storm move by one of the islands in the region, and some of the other islands are a beautiful fair weather day with some moderate breeze. And so that could be a scenario with a disorganized developing tropical depression or tropical storm. So will this look like another Mawar for Guam? It does not look that way. So people can rest easy. It's important not to panic or to worry too excessively about this, but to stay up to date. Make sure you maintain your general preparedness.
It doesn't look at this time like it would be a category 4 or 5 type storm if it passes through either of our islands.
That's correct. We're not seeing too much indication for rapid development or a significant typhoon pushing through. This looks like it could be a borderline event. It could be a high-end, a strong, sloppy tropical disturbance, or more likely a tropical depression or a tropical storm. But that remains a big if right now.
It's a big if. But around this time in tracking Mawar last year, the week prior to Mawar, there was talk of, we're seeing evidence of possible rapid intensification once it gets to the region. So I remember you guys were able to predict that, and that it did happen that way. And so
correct.
You're not seeing that here.
Yeah, there were those indicators that really had myself worried, as well as our staff and the folks at Joint Typhoon Warning Center that we work closely with. There were the indicators of a major typhoon pushing through the Mariana region upwards of a week in advance. And so that was a big concern. That's where we clamped down, and we were leaning heavily forward with our watches and warnings and our preparedness efforts from the Weather Service. We're just not seeing that with this one. And again, we're being held hostage at this time until 95W wants to get consolidated and then start those initial trends. And right now, it's not happened yet.
Okay, so you're not ruling it out. It's just it hasn't consolidated, and so therefore you're not able to make those predictions at this time. So this weekend,
correct.
Then.
Yeah, this weekend, really people need to stay up to date with weather information, because typical in the wet season with tropical cyclones, things can evolve very quickly, and once they start taking shape. So stay up to date with weather information. I've been communicating with some of our Homeland Security partners that it could be a communications complication, because when we start talking about a tropical depression strengthening through the region, it could be on that doorstep of becoming a tropical storm. And a lot of our technicalities, our watches and warnings, the conditions of readiness, that hinges on those damaging 39-mile-per-hour sustained winds. So if we're looking at a 30-mile-per-hour system, there's not going to be much action needed. But once we're talking about 40 or 45 miles per hour wind, it's a little bit stronger. But because of those wind speeds and the technicality of what we're dealing with, a lot of things have to go into motion as far as conditions of readiness, watches and warnings, and timelines and actions from the civilian government. So this is going to be a communication situation that we have to stay on top of. And this is where it's important that everyone out there, including the media partners, really understand the terminology, the watches, the warnings for tropical storms, typhoons, and also the conditions of readiness, because it can cause a lot of confusion. But we're going to do our best to communicate whatever decisions are made or not made and the reasons why.
Can you tell me if this is true, and more importantly, if it is true, if it's significant in any way, or if it's just irrelevant? Someone who predicts things very well. It's just a source of information. When it comes to the weather, is commented to me that in reviewing this formation of NVEST 95W, that the agreement of the global models, the very first global models that came out, they were in such agreement so early on, and it was kind of like a rare thing for that to happen. Is that true? And also, is that significant?
You know, that does place some significance to our biting the bullet with these developing situations. We had a number of systems last year, and one model would go that way and the other model would go that way, and it was so polar opposite of each other. There's been a fairly tight consistency in the early range models upwards of a week ago already, and so we do like to see that. We don't take things too seriously until we actually start seeing that physical disturbance starting to take shape. And so we've been seeing this come together in Eastern Micronesia pretty much as the models were speculating for about a week now. But when does that disturbance really become a defined low-level circulation center? Will that be last night? Will it be today, or will it be tonight? And that has indications on the timing and of speed, motion, approach, and intensification.
Are you in constant communication with Governor Palacios, Governor Leon Guerrero, or their offices about the next?
Yeah, we've been chatting frequently with the Homeland Security offices and the Homeland Security advisors and the special assistant up there in the CNMI. We've been having these conversations for about a week, if not just a little bit more than a week. And so we have a lot of offline communications just to shoot the breeze, so to speak, to let people know, hey, there's these potentials, these possibilities. Keep it in the back of your mind that we might have to escalate things accordingly. Right now, we're still in those informal communications, but things are going to probably tighten up over the next 12 to 24 hours as things evolve, because we're marching on to that timeline, and our watches and warnings again are based off the 24-hour and the 48-hour arrival of damaging tropical storm force winds. So as this thing comes closer, we're going to have to start taking some actions and formalizing our communications. But the press release is already going out from Guam and CNMI Homeland Security offices. The governors and local leaders have been informed of what's out there and how we're going to be playing things accordingly. And so right now we're waiting, observing, and collecting all the data we can, and then starting to plan some actions as needed.
Have you told both Homeland Security offices that there's the possibility you may be calling a heavy weather briefing this weekend?
Yeah, we actually were having that conversation this morning. I don't think that's going to be happening today. And of course, they can call for a heavy weather brief as soon as they would like. We've been having those conversations for several days, but right now it's a communications game, making sure people are well aware of something out there, something possibly to develop out there, and something possibly to affect us in the coming week. And so on the preparedness and communication side, we are right where we need to be at this time frame of a possible tropical weather event. And so we're going to be escalating things accordingly. This is a very communal effort. And so I do pride ourselves with the Weather Service as well as our Homeland Security partners and the communications and the frequency of open communication amongst agencies, as well as our DoD partners.
Well, you guys at National Weather Service have been doing such a great job letting us know what's up and being pretty accurate about things. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Troy.
I would say I look forward to your afternoon brief, but I don't think I'm going to be looking forward to what you have to say there. But I look forward to you presenting this information to the public, and we will carry that as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Stay close attention because things will be evolving and we're going to be putting a lot of information. But, you know, again, don't worry, don't stress out, but just be prepared. September is National Preparedness Month, so maintain that general preparedness all throughout the year and just be ready because, again, this does not look like it's going to be another Mawar, but it could be something that we do have to react to.
Okay. Thank you. Can we chat tomorrow morning as well for an update?
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll get, maybe tomorrow morning, you know, but depending on what you say this afternoon, maybe we can talk more about that preparedness and what people should be doing to make use of the rest of the weekend, et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Landon. Mr. Aydlett, you have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Troy.